This program is for informational and educational purposes only. This program is not a solicitation or recommendation for any investment or security. Investments or securities mentioned in this show may or may not be owned by NEPSIS Advisor Services. NEPSIS Advisor Services is an SEC-registered investment advisor.
Welcome to Journeys with Joni. My name is Joni Rametta, and I'm joined today by my co-host, Mark Clark. Join us as we travel on this journey together. Mark, how are you?
I am wonderful this morning, Joni. How are you?
I'm good, thank you.
About ready for lunch.
Lunchtime. You're a typical guy.
Thank you very much.
Let's just talk about the food. Well, last week we were talking about taxes.
Yeah.
Yeah, that sort of puts a damper on your food
cravings. People are going, you guys are going to talk about taxes the entire month of October. I'm tuning you out.
No, don't tune us out.
Yeah,
we may have some good ideas.
Taxes are fun, especially when you don't pay them.
Right.
Legally. I'm talking legally.
Right. So our objective is to help you plug some holes in your bucket and keep some more of your money instead of sending them for taxes. So it's not about, making the tax bill bigger. It's trying to make the tax bill a little bit smaller, if possible.
Right.
Legally.
Yes.
Under the rules. Knowing what we know.
Right.
In guidance with your professional accountant or CPA, because we do not give tax advice.
Right. There's a little passage in the good book that says, "Render unto Caesar that which is Caesar's."
Correct.
But there's no comma that says, "and give him a little extra."
Right.
So when Caesar, if you will, Washington, D.C. makes the rules, if we can utilize those rules to their fullest that they have written, and I will guarantee you that there are people that utilize the rules that actually work in Washington, D.C., that you'd be shocked to know, wow, I didn't even know that rule existed. And not that we knew all the rules, but as we formulate our planning teams and working with our clients and the people that are near and dear to our hearts, that's one of the things where we've talked about for the last couple of shows, plugging the holes in the bucket. And we pride ourselves in one of our number one goals is to find some of those holes and plug them. Because the last thing we want is money going to Washington, D.C. when it's not necessary.
Well, and sometimes we all have holes we didn't realize were holes. I mean, so it's not necessarily that, that you had a hole you didn't know about. It may be a hole you weren't aware of. And, that there's a fix for it. So not only can we, open that hole and tell you about that hole, but we can actually help you close the hole at the same time.
Right. And,
and we all have holes in our buckets.
Sure we do. Sure we do.
So
make them smaller.
Yes, absolutely.
The other thing the good book says is people perish for lack of knowledge. And, you don't know what you don't know. So if you have an opportunity to really, buckle down and figure out some things, then you're no longer in the unknown category. You now know, and you can make decisions that will have an effect on those holes in your bucket. And my personal experience, as I'm sure yours has been, Joni, is that when people take back control of a dollar that would have normally flown to Washington, D.C., they're usually better stewards with that dollar than anybody in Washington, D.C. is going to be.
Oh, absolutely. And, we're all on this journey called life, and none of us know everything. First of all, there's a lot of stuff to know. And secondly, things constantly are in a mode of changing. So, what we know today may not be completely valid tomorrow, but, we're both certified financial planners. We both have to do continuing ed. We both have to learn about new things coming out. There's new products that come out. There's new ways to do things. I mean, it's sort of like anything else. I mean, you used to, cook your dinner in the oven, and now you cook it in a microwave, or you can do some of those kind of things. I mean, You're still cooking dinner, but there's a different way to do it. So, I know that in the last couple of weeks, we've learned some things too.
We have.
Clients coming in with a different opportunity, and that's what we look at it as. It's an opportunity. It's an opportunity for us to stretch our brains a little bit and exercise our brains and try to figure out, what it is, what it means, and, is it the best thing for you, and is there anything that we can do to make it better? Right.
And today's topic or focus, if you will, in the tax arena is really, we kind of called it this, tax deductions, the deductions that are available to us. And there are a lot of different things that can go into the calculation, but are there things that you can deduct legally that you aren't deducting today? And generally speaking, when I've asked people, you're taking advantage of all your deductions, they go, oh, yeah, sure they are. Well, they're taking advantage of all the deductions that they're aware of, but are there more deductions available to you should you structure things? And, we talked about, on the last show, we talked about the coupon.
Right.
And that's I don't care how you slice it. That my daughter bought $120 worth of groceries and saved $97 with coupons and, the buy one, get one free, stacking the things. And that was $97 worth of deductions that she got off of her grocery bill. That's a deduction. I don't care how you slice it. She did not pay taxes on that $97 worth of groceries, and it's not taxable. There's no way for them to impute a tax on that. Mm-hmm. So I haven't met anybody yet that doesn't like saving money and saving taxes. And, I'm sure somebody out there that doesn't want to save money, but a few and far between.
Yeah. Well, and a lot of people want to, here's the bottom line. You either have to increase your income or decrease your expenses.
Right.
If you want to have more money.
Which one's easier? That's the question.
Exactly. Which one is easier? It's probably easier to cut your expenses.
Right.
So, and heavens, we can cut our expenses and then increase our income too, and we get a double there.
Right.
But the easiest thing to do would be to look at your expenses, and your expenses include not only everything that you spend every day, the Starbucks coffee and the going out to lunch and the going out to dinners and things like that, or your car payments or your mortgages, but it also includes your taxes. So looking at your taxes now in October,
right,
prior to December 31st, is there anything on there on that 1040 form that you're going to file in April that you could be doing today that will help save you money then?
Right. There's entity planning. We're going to go over a couple deductions and some things. Again, we are not CPAs. We're not talking like we're giving you tax advice today. That's not what our conversation's about. Our conversation is about planning. And excuse me, if you have the opportunity to plan, that is doing something, for future impact, not waiting till April 15th and, being a rear focused planner and saying, I wish I would have. Don't be in that situation. Here we are in October. It's tax month to us. We're thinking about the impact we can make on tax planning. And what opportunities do you have? You don't know if you don't look. Right.
And if you want to come into the office and have a little chat with Mark and I, we'd love to meet with you. You can come in. It's complimentary. We'll chit chat for a little bit.
We even give you coffee.
Talk to you. You make coffee?
Well, somebody in the office does.
Yeah, hopefully. I don't drink coffee, so you don't want me making coffee. But come on in and, let's talk about your life a little bit and find out if there's anything that you're not taking advantage of.
How do they find us?
You can find us at 6230 University Parkway, Suite 305. You can find us at www.journeyswithjoni, that's JONI.com. And you can give us a call at 941-361-1484. Journeys with Joni. We'll be right back.
Do you know what you own and why you own it? Join us for our next workshop to learn about investing with clarity by calling 941-361-1484 to reserve your seat today. Joni and Mark look forward to discussing the philosophy, strategy, flexibility, and transparency, the 4 pillars of investing, with NEPSIS Advisor Services. Call today, 941-361-1484. That's 941-361-1484.
Welcome back to Journeys with Joni. Just before the break, Mark and I were talking about taxes. October, we sort of look at as a tax planning month where we're looking for opportunities for our clients to do some prep work prior to the end of December of this year for taxes for next year. And you were talking about, you wanted to talk a little bit about some tax deductions.
Yeah, everybody likes.
Mark really likes to talk about taxes.
I think it's, one of those taboo reactive subjects that, it's so complicated.
It is complicated.
And
then that makes it almost like it's too big of a mountain to climb.
Right.
So I'm not even going to attempt it.
And you go, here's my box, whatever,
right.
And I don't think that's being a good steward. And I think we are, as I referenced already before in the show, render under Caesar the things that are Caesar. Don't give him extra. he's not being a good steward of what he's got anyway. So, not going there, staying away from the politics. But, when you think about deductions, you think about those things, and, there are all kind of equations that kick in. Adjustable, the adjustments that, and then you have the alternative minimum tax that kicks in that impacts people that make what a lot of folks would say make a lot of money. Well, they even have limits on what they can give based on a percentage. And, they're just different rules. But, even if you go look at a tax return, there are things that show up on the tax return that are in the adjustments to your gross income. Certain business expenses, health savings account deduction. And, I'm going to go through a couple of these things, not from what they are, but from the fact that they exist. And I'm going to go back to a comment that you'd already made, Joni. Moving expenses, part of the self-employment tax, a SEP or a simple or qualified plan deductions, an IRA that you've contributed to, self-employed health insurance, IRA deductions, student loan interest, tuition and fees. There are several other things that are here, and these are things that are impacting the taxes after the fact. So if you can combine some of these things in an upfront pre-tax planning, and you're one of those folks like Joni referenced to that puts $100 a month more in taxes. In other words, let me rephrase it. You're that person that gets a $1,200 refund check April 15th, or by the time you get the check, maybe it's in May. So in essence, the first $100 contribution you made in January the year before, that's almost 17 months that the government's had that $100 bill for free.
Absolutely.
And if you had use of that, on top of some of the other deductions, and one of the things that I see a lot is people have secondary or side incomes where they've classified things as a hobby. And if they have an opportunity to incorporation of a business entity is relatively simple. We're not giving tax advice. We're not giving tax planning advice. But, we pull CPAs. We work with CPAs in our planning process. But you may have an opportunity to use some of those entities in the tax planning. And those are just some simple things that, people go, oh, I didn't think about that. But we will go out, and I think it's very appropriate for October. What's coming up? Christmas, the Christmas holiday. And what do? We go out and we charge things up on a credit card. And, you may be a good steward and pay that credit card off. Maybe you take a month or two to pay it off, and that's still pretty good. But that interest that you've paid, instead of getting $1,200 back from the government, why wouldn't you make an adjustment on your taxes and have that money in advance so that you're spending money that you've already got and without paying interest instead of charging things? That'd be somewhere in the neighborhood of, based on what month you're shopping, anywhere from $900 to $1,100 in money in cash, cold hard cash you could use instead of charging it. So it's real.
And if you don't know what's on the tax return, if you don't know what's on the 1040, you don't know that some of those deductions are there, then you're not going to know to use them, or you're not going to collect the information to provide to your accountant to take those deductions. So you really need to know what is required, what is deductible, what you get the credits for, so that you can, keep that information in a place where you can get to it, so you can provide it to your CPA so that you can take advantage of all those kind of things. And if you're getting big checks back from the government, you need to go to your employer and change your W-2.
Yeah, and tax deductions, I know there's a significant part of our audience that's listening to the show or listens this time of day that are either retired or close to being retired. And, as I think of my youngest, your youngest just turned 18. And, we're getting to the point in life where our deductions are moving out.
Yeah, they are. Not
that their expense in any way, shape, or form came close to the deduction we were getting for having them. I mean, good Lord, they ate more than their deductions. The simple fact is we're losing things that we can deduct in the dependents that are walking out the door. And, last time I checked, the IRS is in the business of collecting revenue, not being fair with the revenue. So you have got to begin to look at things, those of you who are retired, approaching retirement, and as you go into the next phase or chapter of your life, how can you do that in the most efficient way possible? Charitable entity planning. doing things in a format that's not just writing checks, but using the ability that we have in this country, using the tax code, using the rules to make it effective for you, for your benefit, would empower you in a way that allows you to have a better impact than just saying, okay, I'm taking, I've got my pension, I've got my money coming out of my qualified plans, I'm going to pay my taxes and, do with what the rest is. You have options.
Absolutely. And you have options other than if you want to do charitable things, you have other options than just giving them cash too.
Absolutely.
We've talked about that on a couple of shows when we had Bob on from the Christian Foundation. You don't have to write the check. You can give them assets, especially assets that have a very low cost basis.
Right.
So there's
that could create a tax deduction in other ways. So you're helping a charity or ministry, and at the same time you're having an impact on your bottom line. So,
and what's wrong with that?
Not a thing.
There's not a thing wrong with doing something to help other people and also helping your taxes at the same time.
Absolutely. That's using the rules.
Using the rules.
Am I reading your mind?
I know.
I thought that was a gal thing, that only gals read minds.
No, I
guess.
Got lucky. We've been doing this too long, I guess, huh?
Absolutely. So we've got to be making some noise in somebody's head out there. We've got to go, man, one of the things is when you come sit down with us, it's I won't say it's low-key, but it's a lot of fun. It's not intimidating. We have a beautiful office.
We have a nice office. We have a conference room, and it's relaxed. I guess, it's not formal. It's relaxed. We want you to be comfortable, too, because we like to be comfortable.
Absolutely.
So, and that's where the discovery of finding different things come. It's in a conversation. It's not a fill out the questionnaire thing. It's a conversation. And in conversations, we learn so much more about each other, and we'll find those things that, maybe we can help you with.
Would love it.
So Journeys with Joni, that's JONI.com, 941-361-1484. Journeys with Joni. We'll be right back.
Do you know what you own and why you own it? Join us for our next workshop to learn about investing with clarity by calling 941-361-1484 to reserve your seat today. Joni and Mark look forward to discussing the philosophy, strategy, flexibility, and transparency, the 4 pillars of investing, with NEPSIS Advisor Services. Call today, 941-361-1484. That's 941-361-1484.
Welcome back to Journeys with Joni. Just before the break, Mark and I were sort of chuckling and laughing. We're talking about taxes. It's not such a great subject, but, it's a reality. And I think, we all need to understand that there's certain things that we're going to do in this life. I mean, you're born, you die, and you pay taxes in between.
There was another joke in there, I'm sure.
But, I'm sure. But, one of the things we truly believe in is that, there are rules out there and we play by the rules, but there are, in most circumstances, there are things that can be done, little tweaks that can be made to help people do things better. I mean, if you're cooking a recipe, sometimes you use this butter versus the other butter because that just tastes a little bit different. It's not a big change, it's a little change. So, coming and talking with Mark and I in the office, as we said before, it's definitely relaxed. It's conversational.
It is.
Cup of coffee, sit back, just sort of chit-chat about the things that are going on in your life, and see if there's any holes in your bucket that we can help you with.
Yeah, a cup of coffee, bottle of water, bowl of pop. No, there's no bowl of popcorn, but that's the way we like to make you feel, that you're comfortable enough where it's just a conversation. And, one of the strategies that we've talked about, we had a gentleman in the office a couple of weeks ago, and he had a focus on tax planning, tax conversation.
I think a lot of people are very sensitive to taxes.
Yeah, we're not real happy with what's going on in the corridor up there in Washington, D.C. and what they're doing with our money. And we have an opportunity and a responsibility to be good stewards over what we've been entrusted with.
Absolutely.
And this lends itself to a conversation that I had with this client. He was, again, very tax focused. And I think too many times we worry about today's tax deduction. And the focus is what am I earning today that I can utilize to get a deduction? But what we're really doing is we're deferring. You've mentioned this in previous shows, Joni, with that we're deferring that tax to later.
Right.
And one of the strategies we deploy is this is for business owners, is a non-qualified program that has the ability to have contributions that have a deductible component to them that grow tax deferred and have the availability to come out tax free, completely legal, been around since the early 80s. It's a great strategy. And when you begin to deploy some of these things inside business entities and business planning, to me, that's one of the number one reasons that you should have a business. And, wealth was created in this country by business owners. Mm-hmm. And there's three ways you make money. You get the money from a lawsuit or an inheritance. That's number one and number two. And number three is it's always come from owning a business.
Right.
And I would throw winning the lottery in the inheritance, but we all know what happens to lottery winners. They usually
don't have it after a while.
Yeah, it's
right.
There's a reason dollar bills have eagle's wings on them, and the dollars fly away when you're not a good steward of them. But coming back to the business and the planning, when you're looking at things on the front side of going, I want to get all the deductions I can today, that may not be the best balance. Mm-hmm. And, we've talked about this in qualified situations. I had a client a few years ago that every penny that he and his wife had was in a qualified account, and their lifestyle, their cash flow lifestyle was such that they were in a higher tax bracket and they couldn't get it down because they couldn't spend less money. That's just the monster that they created. And they had no deductions left. So what did they do? They started a small business. And, again, is that something you want to do in the senior years of your life when you'd rather be doing ministry things? And again, there's other opportunities that you have. But we're really talking about strategies and the opportunity to put things in play that have an impact to allow you to make the impact that you want to make. And finding those holes in those buckets, or keeping the hole from ever becoming real in the bucket, mm-hmm. is oftentimes what we're able to work with people and find. Yeah,
and it's taxes today, which is what we're sort of talking about, but it's also taxes in the future. Because I've had several clients that, when you look at their net worth and where all their money is, it's right. in a place that's going to come out 20 years from now, 100% taxable.
Right.
Is there anything that we can do today to help prevent that or limit that in the future? And the answer to that is yes. So you have to, but you can't wait until 20 years from now to do that planning. You've got to start the planning now.
Yeah. What is your exit strategy? What's your tax exit strategy on your small business, on your medium business, and what opportunities you have? You referenced this earlier. We had Bob Collins of the National Christian Foundation on. And they've got some great resources in tax planning mm-hmm. as you think about exiting your business, especially if you're somebody that's in an environment where you're going, I don't have anybody to take this business over. My kids aren't interested, and, what am I going to do with this? I've got to find a buyer. I'm going to take a check, and I'm going to take it on the chin when I'm, paying Uncle Sam the capital gains taxes and selling my business. You have options. So, again, that's what we love. I won't say making something out of nothing, because that's not what we're doing. We're finding the rules that are best going to be applied to your current situation and helping you make a better impact on the assets you've been entrusted with. And we have a lot of fun doing that.
It is fun because you know what? We learn a lot. And it's rare, one of the things that Mark and I both like to do is help people, because that's where our heart really is helping people do things, making an impact in this community with our clients and with our friends and family to do things for the community. And if we can make an impact in your life by helping you, find some deduction that you weren't aware of, or, incorporating right. that business, or working with your CPA or your accountant or even your attorneys to making some kind of a little tweak today that will benefit you and your family in the future. It is a very satisfying day for us.
Right. And then take it to the next level. And how can you help impact other people that might be in a similar situation? And I don't care whether you call it pay it forward or, help your brother, but, we're all passing through this life, and it's about the people that we have an opportunity to rub shoulders with, mm-hmm. Rub elbows with, put a noogie on, whatever you want to call it. But it's all about the folks that are involved in our lives and making a difference. And that's why we're planners. You're exactly right. That's why we do what we do, and we have a good time at it.
Yeah, because, you're born, there's a date on your gravestone, the date you were born, the date you died, and the dash in the middle. And what is your dash going to say about you?
That's right. We're all accountable.
We are all accountable. Thank you for sharing your time with us today. We hope that you learned something new. If you missed any portion, go to journeyswithjoni, that's JONI.com, where you can find a replay of our shows, workshop dates, send us an email, or read our quarterly updates. You can find us at 6230 University Parkway, Suite 305. Where's that at, Mark?
Corner of I-75. Now, if you go too fast, too far on University, headed eastbound, you might just drive right by us and have to make that U-turn, so be careful.
Yeah, absolutely. But I-75 and University Parkway out there near that new University Town Center, that's going to be opening. Yes. Oh, my goodness, the traffic.
We're excited, but we're not. Exactly. Come see us now.
Journeys with Joni. We'll be back next week. Until then, thanks for listening.
This program is for informational and educational purposes only. This program is not a solicitation or recommendation for any investment or security. Investments or securities mentioned in this show may or may not be owned by NEPSIS Advisor Services. NEPSIS Advisor Services is an SEC registered investment advisor.